Stands for volatile interactions. So it's an abbreviation of that. And the meaning behind that is we want to look at how do these volatiles, that is the organic compound produced by basically all organisms, interact between each other with the climate. One of the reasons for having these center constructions is that you now boost a research area that thinks, okay, this is big enough to sustain research for 10 years, but even beyond that. So we also have some plans on what could happen when this center closes down after 10 years. There's very likely more things to do. So we will educate the new generation of biologists and biochemists and chemists working on these volatiles and their biological importance. All organisms use these volatiles to communicate, some even to kill each other and to cooperate. We want to look into how do these organisms produce, and these organisms that we have a focus on will be plants and microorganisms. And also, and this is new to the center, we will look at the microorganisms that can degrade these compounds. So that could interfere with communication between organisms, but it could also mean that we get less of these compounds into the atmosphere. These compounds, when they come into the atmosphere, they interact with other components in the atmosphere. So they can become what we call cloud nucleation nuclei. So they can be the first steps toward rain. They can also create smog, which is on the downside, you can say. And we know very little about these compounds how much is emitted. So transmitted from soil, from trees, from aquatic components on this planet into the atmosphere. So my specialty when it comes to research is microbiology. And I'm focused within microbiology on bacteria and fungi living in soils and other terrestrial environments. If you look into the microbial communities in soils, they are the most complex communities we know on this planet. It's not rainforest, it's soil. So we have thousands and even tens of thousands of different bacterial species found in a handful of soil. So all of them will produce different volatiles. And the volatiles, they are also in themselves complex. So there will be likely hundreds of different volatiles that we can detect at an extremely small concentration. So I will be the guy that look into the microbes. That can be bacteria, it can be fungi, that produce and consume these volatiles. And also there can be looking at interactions between the volatiles produced by microorganisms and, for instance, plants. So we know plants will emit quite a lot of these volatiles, and then microbes may degrade them. It could also be as a communication link between microbes and plant roots. So my microbes are found in soil, and then they may produce something that is a communication to plants to do something, and also the other way around, that plants may produce volatiles that is, say, a letter to the microbes in the soil. When I will do measurements and lead some specific scientific investigations, it will be on pure cultures. That means specific bacteria where we have a knowledge about which kind of compounds do they produce, which volatiles come from them, and which can they degrade. So we can take a specific bacterium or fungus and then give it specific conditions that we believe could interfere with, or at least impact the volatiles it will produce. So that's one line of research, but we will also do it on model systems. So it can be a specific plant species that we will have in the lab. And then we can look at the microbes associated with the roots of this specific plant, also the leaves, because we know a lot of the volatiles that are emitted from plants come through the leaves. And then we know there are different bacteria and fungi that inhabit the leaves. And we want to look into, do they interfere with the emission of volatiles from the plants? And then the last will be measurements in the field with natural plants in their community. We will follow those plants during the season in specific habitats, and then also take samples on which bacteria and fungi, for instance, are found on their leaves. We don't have enough data to really do good modeling, so we expect that a lot of our data will be the basis of future modeling efforts. We will not do the climate modeling, but other people can do it based on our data. So our data will be freely available to others to do this modeling. Simply because we have most results are from laboratory investigations, and we can go into the field with our equipment, so we can do it under natural conditions in the field, in Denmark, Greenland, other places. So we see what happens under real conditions. So there are different levels here. So one level is simply to look at what or which volatiles will be emitted from soils and plants into the atmosphere. So we will quantify that. But we will also look at a smaller level, not only at the ecosystem, but a very small level. So that could be at a root tip, which volatiles are emitted from a specific root tip or a specific leaf, and which volatiles are then consumed by microorganisms. We will also look at a small detail into very small soil samples, which volatiles are produced under different environmental conditions. And we may change these conditions because we know climate change is ongoing. So we know that soils will be warmer because we have global warming. They may also get drier or wetter depending on where on this planet you are. And that can also influence the microbial activity, and we believe also specifically the production of specific volatiles. Yeah, I mean, the dream result is basically relating to the overarching hypothesis of this center, that there is a common signature between how volatiles are produced in terrestrial systems where you have soil and plants, and how they're produced in aquatic systems, so lakes, streams, oceans. Basically nothing is known about that. And we hope that we can see a signature that is common to how this is controlled, and say an overall way of controlling the emission and consumption of these volatiles. I think this is a unique opportunity to do some fun research for at least 6 years, very likely 10 years. I mean, this is a gift as a researcher to be given these opportunities and to work together with people that also understand biology, but have different, say, access or entry routes into the research within biology. And I look forward to work together with these guys and then start developing ideas and hypotheses on what we are going to do. That will be cool.